Welcome to the Endpoint Monitoring lesson. Click Next to get started. After completing this lesson, you will be able to achieve these objectives. Define endpoint monitoring and its role within the different endpoint hardening categories. Describe the features of Endpoint Protection Platform, EPP, and Endpoint Detection and Response, EDR, software. List different ways administrators can secure unknown endpoints. The process of hardening endpoints is broken into several categories. This lesson focuses on the fourth category, endpoint monitoring. This section includes the monitoring of endpoint devices, both locally through an endpoint protection platform, EPP client, if available, or over the networks the devices are connected to using specialized network intrusion detections systems, IDS. It is also possible to implement endpoint detection and response, EDR platforms that can preemptively block new, undiscovered attacks and take immediate action against suspicious files and programs. To help in the administration of modern endpoints, many companies have created endpoint solutions to help manage and protect various types of endpoints from cyber threats. Most endpoint solutions support servers, desktops, laptops, and smartphones with additional plugins and support for the proliferation of the new, unknown, and IoT devices. The first endpoint security solution is the Endpoint Protection Platform, or EPP. This developed from the need of administrators to ensure servers and desktops are patched and have the appropriate antivirus software installed. Modern EPP platforms can verify versions of software and firmware, scan the local system for viruses and malware, and enforce data loss prevention and other company-defined security policies. EPP is usually viewed as a defensive measure against malicious attacks and helps administrators maintain uniform software updates across the enterprise. EPP can also allow basic monitoring and visibility into systems to help administrators identify out-of-date devices and remotely patch and install software on devices. Another endpoint solution is Endpoint Detection and Response, or EDR. This is a more protective security solution that constantly scans a device to detect indicators of compromise, or IOC. If the EDR client detects a suspicious connection or program or behavior, it can block the action and send an alert. This can help identify and stop threats like ransomware and zero-day attacks that may not have an established signature that would be detected by traditional anti-malware systems. EDR usually leverages artificial intelligence and large comprehensive databases of known attacks to predict and recognize suspicious files and programs. In addition to detection and immediate response, EDR can trigger alerts to other connected endpoints and allow other endpoints to immediately block the suspicious program or file, even before it can be opened or executed, providing an immediate response against zero-day and other previously unidentified attacks. EDR systems can also have tools to help security investigators gather data on new threats and quarantine systems that are suspected of compromise. Both EPP and EDR solutions usually provide monitoring resources to allow security administrators to have top-down visibility on the health of their endpoints and allow a quick response in case of potential attacks or outages. These are usually a key component in monitoring by a security operations center. In addition, many EDR solutions allow an immediate response by automating the process to either lock down devices or execute operations in response to a threat detected by other parts of the network. For example, a security analyst can publish updated malware detection rule based on a common vulnerability and exposure, CVE alert, to plug a potential security risk before a patch can be made available by the device manufacturer. One of the largest challenges in securing new devices is how to connect them to established networks securely. Many companies now allow employees to use BYOD computers and phones, bring your own device. Because these devices are usually not well known and not managed by the company, allowing them to connect directly to a corporate network is a large risk. Having monitoring software and detection in place to identify and isolate unknown devices is a critical step in properly onboarding and securing these devices. If possible, force all new and unknown devices onto an isolated network until they can be secured and registered. You can use a physically separate network, VLAN, or a dedicated Wi-Fi access point to accomplish this. Once a device is registered, usually by hostname, serial number, MAC address, or static IP address, appropriate monitoring software can be installed, and the device moved to a production environment as a known endpoint. With hard-to-secure devices and unknown endpoints, you should enforce the principle of least privilege. If these devices need access only to a specific internet or internal server, isolate them on a unique network and allow only that specific connection through firewalls and routers. That way, if the device does not meet network compliance because they are not running an appropriate endpoint security solution, it has a limited access to other resources as possible. Once all known devices are registered, you can configure many network security devices, such as wireless access points, switches, routers, firewalls, and other connectivity points to lock down and not allow unauthorized devices to connect through the network. Disabling devices that are not monitored forces users with unknown devices to register and prevents attackers from attempting to insert their own devices onto the network remotely or by attempting to physically plug in a device locally. You have completed this lesson. You are now able to define endpoint monitoring and its role within the different endpoint hardening categories, describe the features of Endpoint Protection Platform EPP and Endpoint Detection and Response EDR software. List different ways administrators can secure unknown endpoints.